Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another edition of Football Theory right here on Texas Football. And I got to tell you, folks, obviously transition can be tough for some folks out there. So shout out to my man Ian Boyd, who held it down here on Football Theory with me for the last couple of weeks throughout football season. But now that we transition, we want to make sure that we paid respect to Football Theory. So we brought in a football theorist, but also a football coach. All right. He took it from the experimental phase to the practical phase and actually put it into practice on the field plenty of times. He is a former high school head football coach at Burnett, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, also at Rotan. Is it Rotan or Rotan?
Rotan.
I apologize. Rotan. I got to make sure I get that right. Rotan. He also played college football at Abilene Christian. Was an old school fullback back in the day. Coached also at Abilene Christian. Multiple stints there as well. And 5 seasons actually on the staff at the University of Texas between the transition between Mack Brown and Coach Tom Herman. I am pleased to be joined by a legend among football theorists. Head coach Bob Shipley. Bob, coach, what's going on? How you doing? I appreciate you joining.
Hey, what's up, man? You good?
Coach, I got to tell you, man, I got super excited when Bobby told me that you may be working with us. I was giddy. I'm not going to lie to you. First of all, not only are you a damn good football coach, all right, an awesome football coach, but also you got great genetics, all right? You got a great gene pool. I got to tell you, Coach, you got a great Longhorns know this. You got a great gene pool, man, and we're very grateful and gracious, all right, for that Shipley gene pool. How are you doing? How's the family doing? First off,
man, Rod, I don't know about that gene pool mess. I've been called a lot of things in my life. Fast wasn't ever one of them, So I'm just not even going to touch that. I'll never agree to a DNA test with my kids. But hey, no, man, it's doing good, Rod. I've just been blessed, I was on staff with Tom whenever he left, and then when Sark came on, I hung around for a few months to help him transition and help him get my replacement hired and get him trained. And so actually, I worked for Mac, and then I worked for Charlie Strong for a few months, and then decided to get back into the high school coaching. So I've kind of been, didn't work for Sark very long either, but I don't know how many people can say that they actually sat in staff meetings with all those guys, but it's pretty interesting.
Coach, I ain't gonna lie to you. We're gonna have to just do a show on your time spent with Mack Brown, Coach Strong, Coach Herman, and then a little time with Coach Sark as well. Because that's how I know you're a great ball coach, because ball coaches want to be around other ball coaches. They just want as many of them on the staff as possible. And we're going to do a football theory on that, Coach. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where you just dive in and get your thoughts, your experiences. I know you may not be able to tell everything because coaches, there's a circle of trust, but it's
all good. It's all good. Every one of those guys brings something that I admire a lot, So yeah. It was a great experience for me.
That is fantastic, Coach. Well, we're lucky to have you, and we appreciate you, man. And we're gonna try to get as much of that football knowledge as we can here on Football Theory. All right. So the first task, if you will, was to rewatch the Texas-Washington game, the Alamo Bowl from last season. First off, before we dive into that, can I just get your thoughts on this season? On this team? Can you just, I know, because it's been a while since we've been able to, feel this good about the Texas football team. We've had some good teams, good players. Football is, it's a tough game. But this is a great team.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you,
this is a great team, Coach.
We've been teased so many years over the last decade, and how many times we had our heart broke, and I'm kind of like that dog gets kicked, after a while you kick that dog enough, he ain't gonna come back anymore. So I've been, man, I want it for us so bad, but I've had my heart broke, as we all have.
Yes, we have.
So many times. But just to see the complete team that Sark and the staff has put together is remarkable. We've had pieces here and there, and we had flashes, Sugar Bowl 2018, we had flashes, but nothing to this level. And then I think the majority of the ingredients were in place, and then Sark talked about it this season, implementing that culture.
Yep.
And that's something that Bobby and I talked about the other day on a show we did. It's just the fact that that with today's transfer portal the way it is, you got to be careful with the culture you set for your team, because if you're a hard butt all the time, just old school, beating them down, trying to make them tougher, there's some of those guys go, you know what, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go somewhere else. And so, when you hear these guys on this football team this year being interviewed, and they talk about the head coach as a father figure, we hadn't heard that since Mac Brown. And it's really special when a team comes together, and it took a couple of years, because a lot of these guys, they've been through some change, and they've been through some adversity, and to finally buy in and then see, what, this guy knows what he's doing, and my teammates are really good, so let's make something special. And so you see, unselfish people on the team is, I love Jordan Whittington. I was, involved in his recruiting process, and what I did was, when I was on staff, see, I thought I was going to be the man, because the first weekend, Tom said, "Hey, Ship, we need you up here this weekend. We got a bunch of big dogs coming in." So I'm like, "All right, go bring in the closer, okay? I can do this, And then he's like, "Hey, Ship, I want you to meet so and so's grandfather. You just take out this weekend." And so, I thought, actually, that's not true. I knew I'm not the closer, but it would really worked out really good that I got to meet these kids. A lot of these kids on the roster, their parents, their grandparents. Bijan's grandfather, spent a weekend with him. What a great group, and just so much fun to see these kids buy into what Sark was selling, and then the success we're having at this point, and the depth that we have, and the schemes that we have, and the staff that we have. All three phases of the game have just drastically improved, in my opinion. So it's a fun time to be a Longhorn.
It is indeed. I mean, the rest of the athletics department in the sports have been clicking for a while now, it seems.
No doubt.
Football was the last one, and I'm with you, Coach, man. It's interesting, as a Longhorn fan, we haven't had this feeling in a long time. But I think it's for Longhorn fans, you need to just accept the fact this is a great team. Quit waiting on something bad to happen. Okay. All right, Coach. Let's get back into it. Let's talk about the rewatch here, because you saw some things and on the rewatch that I thought were really interesting. I want to start with this though. Washington, as you know, their passing offense is considered statistically to be the best passing offense in the country. They have thrown 100 deep balls, 20 yards or more down the field the entire season. Give you contextualize that. I think Quinn Ewers is around 40 deep balls on the season by Pro Football Focus numbers. They are really prolific. They're really efficient throwing the football vertically downfield. Michael Penix Jr. was a Heisman finalist. He's completing 44% of those passes 20 yards or more down the field. That's going to be a challenge for Texas this season. This season, they've allowed starting quarterbacks. I removed the backup quarterbacks from my sample size, Coach. Starting quarterbacks are completing 42% of their deep balls against Texas, which is a little bit, that's over the average. And that's probably a little bit higher than Pete Kwiatkowski would like, especially going into this matchup against Michael Penix and a group of wide receivers that I think all are NFL caliber wide receivers. But in the Washington game, in the Alamo Bowl, even though they were a really prolific, deep vertical passing offense last year too, Texas held them to one completion on deep balls, 1 of 10 actually.
Yeah, and that was a trick play.
It was.
That was the first play of the game. Yeah.
So, Coach, what did they do? What did they do that you watched? And did you see something specifically, schematically, that Texas was able to do, or did we just see more sound technique from Texas? Shots.
I liked our game plan last year. We were moving around a lot before the ball was snapped. You give a guy like Penix time to know what you're going to be in. He's like a surgeon, man. That dude he'll tear you apart. So I like the fact that we were you remember there was one time we looked like we were running the power eye. We had like 4 people in an eye behind behind the center.
And, he threw a pick on that play.
That's right.
That was the interception play, though.
Thompson. Yeah, that's right. So, we're moving people around, doing some things and trying not to let them get set. But, we didn't always get the pressure on them that we needed. But and then so as a result, we dropped so many people back, it looked like to me, to try to stop his powerful passing game, they were able to run the ball on us with a lot of success. You know, last year they had the transfer in for Virginia that had a really great game against us.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we were on to something last year. I think it seems like this year our defense is, you know, obviously they're stopping the run first, which every good defensive coordinator will tell you that if you don't stop the run, then that's the foundation of any defense. And so what I saw last year was we were dropping so many people back and getting in, you know, a 4-1 front some, and they were able to run the ball on us. And so, you know, we've got to come up with a way, first of all, to not let them run the ball, but not give up those deep passes. And, you know, defensively, you're giving up something. There's very rarely a team so talented that you're not, you know, giving up something. And so I think our defensive game plan has been such that, you know, we're stopping the run, but we've had some balls go over the top on us. And so that's a big area of concern going into this bowl game.
That's interesting you said that, Coach, and I totally agree with you. You almost got to pick your poison defensively, right? And that's a great defensive coordinator. He knows down to down situationally. All right, you know what? On this down, this situation, we're going to take this away because this is the most obvious threat, whatever it may be. And you base that on your personnel. Bringing that up about the game plan, I saw this and did the math. In the last 2 years, Michael Penix's lowest yards per attempt in the last 2 years, including this year and last season, since he's been with Kalen DeBoer, has been in that Texas game in the Alamo Bowl. Yeah. 5.3 yards per attempt. It was one of his lowest completion percentages of his career in the last 3 years. It was actually one of his worst games. The problem actually was with Texas. They didn't give up a lot of deep balls, and as you pointed out, you got to give up something. They allowed 158 yards rushing. They allowed over 5.5 yards per rush. So to your point, I think I noticed them playing a lot more two high safeties, two deep safeties to take away the deep balls, which they did effectively. But as you pointed out, Coach, you got to give up something. And I think what they ended up giving up were the rushing yards, 5.5 yards per rush, 158 rushing yards. Here is, I think, why this year is very different. You got the best defensive tackle duo in college football. You theoretically could actually, neutralize the run. I don't know if you can stop it, neutralize it, contain it with a lighter box and take away the deep ball, much like you did last year. And this year, you probably would fare much better with defending with a lighter box because you got Tavondre Sweat, the Allen Trophy winner. You got Byron Murphy in there. You got Jalen Ford. Is that something you could see them staying with the pass defense that they had, at least that game plan last season, taking away the deep ball, but this year being able to play the run a lot better just because you have better personnel potentially?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. You know, I don't know what the staff's going to do, but I would certainly look at, you know, why would you change up what you did last year in pass defense? Because you were fairly effective. I mean, you're going to get some crossing routes, you're going to get some mid-level routes, you know, but you know, as long as we're not getting beat over the top. And so I think you roll the dice a little bit. You have to have, you know, obviously you've got to have plan B, but plan A is we are better up front than we were last year. So let's see how we can control the run, just playing our base front. And then, you know, if it's not working, you can, you know, you have a plan B where you can adjust it. But I think it's going to be real interesting to see if we just go mano a mano. I mean, you know, we got the best defensive front in the country. And, you know, let's just let's see if we can stop it with that. And if we can, that's great. We can save the other stuff for the next game. But if not, you know, you're obviously going to have a plan B and you're going to have to gamble. You're going to have to, you know, maybe do some things you're not as comfortable doing. But sometimes you got to stop the bleeding when you do that.
Yeah, speaking of gambling, Coach, I'm glad you brought that up. They lost this game last year defensively for two reasons. Rush defense, as we just brought up, and Coach just broke it down for you. Last year, they were ranked in rush defense. They were 33rd in rush defense in the country. This season, they're top 5. They're number 4 in the country in rush defense. And another reason they lost this game, because actually the only way they moved the ball was they ran the ball. They didn't get a lot of deep shots. They weren't necessarily efficient in the passing game, but they converted, Coach, on money downs. They were 13 of 23. That's over 56% conversion rate on money downs. That's third and fourth down. They were able to complete some passes, able to get some big runs on those money downs. That was the key. This year, Texas is second in the country. All right, basically the number 2 defense in the country on third downs. So it's going to be a very different. I'm with you on playing the same game plan you played last year, but the reasons you lost the game last year defensively are actually the strengths of this defense this year. I don't want to kind of simplify it and maybe oversimplify it. I think you hit the nail on the head, Coach. Do what you did last year, but you're better than you were last year now.
Right. You got to start that way. You don't want to go change everything. You're going to start, basic. But, I think, getting where Penix is not comfortable, that's going to be a key. You watch him, man, when he has a chance to set his feet and really, just rear back and sling it, he's deadly. I mean, he will pick you apart. They do a great job of moving the pocket. He does a lot of boots, a lot of sprint outs, a lot of play action stuff like that. And so you don't know for sure where the pressure needs to come from. But just being real physical up front, getting pressure on him, making him uncomfortable. And so you start off pre-snap by moving people around. He doesn't know for sure exactly what's the offensive line, maybe a little bit confused. They're not sure what you're going to bring. And then, bringing some pressure from time to time to make him uneasy and not be comfortable. Because you let him be comfortable in that pocket, he's deadly. He's shown that week after week.
Yep. And Coach, honestly, I thought I saw a lot of that in the game. You pointed out the play where he threw the only interception he threw all game. And Texas, they were running that front where they had everybody moving around. They had the D tackle standing up in a 2-point stance, and it affected his process. He didn't know what he was looking at, and he threw an erratic, random throw, and it was an interception. He's got 9 picks on the year, and I've watched him, Coach. He's thrown a lot of them. He's got a cannon of an arm, but he trusts that arm a lot, even in small windows, so he'll give you a chance to make a play. Remember, Terrence Brooks should have had a pick 6 in this
He sure
game.
did. Yeah, he did. He broke on the ball really good, and that's what you got to do on a guy with this kind of arm strength, I don't know what it is about those left-handed quarterbacks, man, but they just seem to be, I go back to the Stabler days and, Young with the 49ers, and those guys just, you let them get their feet set and seem like they throw on the run really well,
Yes.
So does Michael.
Yep.
So being able to break on the ball like the play you're talking about last year will be key for us too.
Yeah, and Terrence Brooks, that was one of his first starts, if not his first start, actually. And he had a really good game.
As a true freshman, that was huge.
Yeah, that was huge. All right, one other thing before we wrap things up. So we're talking about the corners in the deep ball, and you noticed this too, Coach. We talked about it in like a little mini pre-show meeting that we had discussing this. Texas is getting more aggressive with their corners. They're getting a little bit more aggressive. They're playing more press coverage on the outside. In the Tech game, I noticed it. Also noticed it in Oklahoma State game. Playing more and more press coverage on the outside, which is good. It's taking away easy completions. It's taking away, and by the way, Michael Penix, the only throw that he throws more than the deep ball is 0 to 9 yards, pretty much the quick game. If you're going to give it to him, he'll take it, and he's got the arm to get it there. Even if he's off platform, even if it's a throw that he's got to do on the move, he can make all those throws with his arm. But one thing that Texas is doing more of, they're playing a little bit more press on the outside. Gundy's adjustment to that was to throw it deep, to test Texas deep when they were playing press coverage. And they actually got some guys open. They
had some success.
They had some success there. How much press coverage should Texas play versus receiver? You got to do some of it. You have to. I even saw Washington State doing some of it. Oregon State. Texas has better corners, I think, than those teams. How much would you press these receivers, because they're really good?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Now, you better have 2 safeties, and you're going to give up some run game, when you do that. But early in the year, we were given such a cushion. People were just nickel and diming us, and then you miss a tackle or two, and you've got some really big plays. I like for them to earn everything they get,
Right. Yeah.
And if he's going to beat us, he's going to have to beat us over the top, or you always say make them left-handed, take away what they do best. Well, they throw the deep ball really, really well, Now, I'm not saying you give them the run game, because that's humiliating when a team just continues to run the ball, down your throat. But I like the aggressive press, and make them earn everything. That make those guys reroute. There's some guys that, you know this as a pro DB. There's some guys you get in their face and you mess up their timing. They can't they have a hard time recovering.
Yep.
But you give a guy a 5-8 yard cushion, man, he's licking his chops. So
7-on-7. 7-on-7.
That's right.
Pitch and catch. Yep, I'm with you on that. I think situationally, they definitely should come up and challenge these wide receivers a little bit. And another point that Coach brought up before we get out of here, everybody needs to keep in mind, the pre-snap look should always be different than the post-snap look. As much as you can, moving pieces around. You brought that up. That's something Texas did really well in that first matchup versus Washington in Alamo Bowl. There was a lot of moving pieces, forcing Michael Penix to process post-snap. Don't give him the same look pre-snap as post-snap, because as Coach said, he will eat you alive. Give him a different look. He may take him an extra half a second, but that half a second could mean everything. Between that deep ball or an accurate throw and off throw. So I'm with you. I think that's going to be the key. And I think another thing is the interior pressure this year could be really big this season for Texas. We know with Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, but no quarterback likes interior pressure. They don't like that. That's the best way to kind of get him off his spot. All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you joining us. We're going to be doing this from now on, folks. Just so you know. Week in and week out, me and Coach going to be here breaking down X's and O's and talking, obviously, leading up to the Washington game, talking about the Sugar Bowl. But then even after that, we're going to be picking Coach's mind, Coach's brain, man, because Coach got a lot of football knowledge that we need to soak up. So thank you, Coach, for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, man. Enjoyed being with you. And I hope we get to do it another week after this Washington game.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, Coach. There you go. Putting a good mojo out there, right? I like that. All right. For Coach and for myself, we'll join you next time on Football Theory next week. Thank you guys for joining us, and come around next time. Hopefully, no, not hopefully, we will be talking about a Texas Longhorn win. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em, baby.